All right, here we go. How to Sgraffito. I'm going to show you guys how to add your black underglaze to your project today and carve your design. So you are starting with this, which is the pinch pot you made. You've let it dry a little bit, and ideally this is leather hard, which means when I'm trying to move it, it moves a little bit, but it's not really soft and floppy. Okay, we want to be able to carve into it, so you can kind of maybe see this, carve into it with a pencil or a pen, and it makes a little bit of the crumbs, but it doesn't tear your clay. Okay, and it's still soft enough in this case to be able to go back and smooth it. Okay, so it's not hard as a rock, it's not greenware, but it's not soft and floppy. Okay, so that's where we want to have our pinch pot. You want to have it as refined as you can imagine it being, so maybe think about, you know, taking extra time to smooth your fingerprints out, whatever you can do to make it look great. Then, here we go. Down here, you have got this, and this is your underglaze. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is get your paintbrush and really stir your underglaze. It's been sitting in there for a couple of weeks, so mine had separated just a little bit. So I stirred that. Next, if you would like to maybe sketch out on your pot where you want to paint, I think that would be a good start. So if you're going to do a band around your project, maybe just sketch a line in here, and I am just using a pencil. It's one of my favorite pottery tools. So sketch your line on your pot so you kind of have an idea of where you want to put your black underglaze. So make sure my lines meet up. They do. Fantastic. I can do another line underneath here, or I could just go for it with that. If you don't like your line, then you just erase it. Okay, so you could just smooth it back out. I like mine fine. So now I'm going to paint my underglaze, and I'm just going to carefully, because I made that line, work my way around my pot. This is going to be the area that I do my design. Some of you might have designed it to go at the top around this edge. Some of you might have just decided to do kind of a patch or a shape on your project. Okay, so you're going to paint that all the way around or wherever you're going with your project, and then you're going to let that dry for a few minutes. And if you can kind of see right now, I can still see through into the color of my clay showing through my underglaze. That's not what I want. So I'm going to do one layer, let it dry, and then do a second layer. Okay, so we want the black underglaze to be thick enough that we can't see through it. Okay, so that was layer one. I'm going to set that aside and let it dry for a few minutes. Or, if you're really impatient, you can use one of these. This is a hairdryer. So if you want to blow dry your project, you can. You just want to be careful speeding the process too much because it will dry your clay really quickly around the top, and we don't want it to get hard. Okay, we want it to stay at that leather hard stage. So if I was working at home, I would probably set this aside. It's already starting to dry, so I would set this aside for about 5 or 10 minutes, do my second layer of underglaze, and then I'm ready to Sgraffito. So to start your actual carving, you're gonna want these fancy tools. So I have got a ballpoint pen. This is red. I found it on the floor at school, so nothing fancy. And then a pencil. You can choose whatever you want to use. I'm looking at it for the point on it. Also, pencil was on the floor. So you don't want to use anything fancy, just whatever you have around, either a ballpoint pen or a pencil. So first thing, if you can see on this pot, around these edges, I don't have a very good line. So the beauty of doing the Sgraffito is I can just start kind of removing that or carving it off. You are going to want to work over a paper towel or a garbage can. Okay, this is going to make a little bit of a mess. So now I can collect all my crumbs right here. So first thing is maybe to refine your shape and get rid of any unwanted edges that you painted onto your project. So I'm just kind of scraping them off, really gentle. Okay, so that's going to be step number one. This is maybe an example of the patch design. So I can actually just go around the edge and outline it and make sure the edge of my shape looks really nice and clean. Okay, so now I've kind of refined that edge, gotten rid of some of my brush strokes that I didn't want. Next up is doing your design. So I've got this little shape to design here. And you should have your sketchbook next to you with whatever plan you intend to do. For me, I am just going to do a couple of quick leaves and show you how that works. So I'll start with kind of my baseline here. And just by drawing on the clay, I am able to remove the black. So I'm actually not really carving it, just drawing into it. Okay, you can see all of these crumbs around the edge. Try not to touch them too much. If they fall off, that's great. We just want to let them dry, and then I'll brush them off in a little bit. Okay, so now I've created a flower or a leaf. I could maybe do a fern right next to it here. So just again, carving my design into my black underlays. Okay, so all these crumbs you can see, they're gathering up here on my paper towel. My parents or whoever I live with would really thank me for not getting that all over on the floor. Once these crumbs start to dry, you're gonna brush all that off. Okay, so we don't want any of those crumbs left on the pot. And then sometimes if you aren't super patient, that will make it so some of that black gets back into your lines. So I want you to go around your lines probably at least twice. Your lines should be really nice and clean. You shouldn't have any clay debris in them. Shouldn't see junk everywhere in there. So just work on those, refine your lines until they're nice and crisp and clean, okay? So when you're done, it will look something like this, right? You'll have your own pattern design on there. This needs another little leaf. The other thing that you can do is you can actually carve out more white area. So in here, maybe I want to put some, holes in my leaves, so I could start carving out more of that area just by kind of scratching off the surface. Okay, if we were at school, we'd have a couple of different tools that we'd be able to use to remove more of that background. But since we're at home, we're going really simple. Okay, so you can still make a really cool Sgraffito pattern design at home just using your ballpoint pen and the supplies I sent home. All right, once you're done, just make sure everything is nice and clean. You're gonna take your pictures of your finished project to insert into Notability, screenshot the rubric and complete those questions, and then you'll be able to turn in your project, okay? Good luck, have fun. I think this is a really fun project, so enjoy it, and I will talk to you guys at our next class.